and Trump kept taking the bait. Repeatedly, she kind of avoided the subject of the question that she was asked, pivoted to something else in order to goat Donald Trump, and then he went there. He missed opportunities on issues like immigration and other things to really point out some big differences with Kamala Harris and some of the weaknesses that some voters believe that the Biden-Harris administration has. There's much to discuss about the topics tonight, certainly because this was a big night for Kamala Harris in her first presidential debate, as Donald Trump has now completed 7 of these debates. John Dickerson, what did you see tonight?
Well, picking up on what you said, Nora, I think the strategy was, she prosecuted Donald Trump. She was relentless. And I think it was, when they teach you about writing, they say show and don't tell. Everybody knows pretty much the story about Donald Trump, so they weren't learning new information. But by baiting him, I think the intent was to say, now look at the way he's behaving. And he did get emotional at times, talking at one point about cats. And had some other people eating cats and dogs, which was very hard to follow. But I think in that emotional moment, which he's going to be on the wrong side of the replays, part of this is what gets replayed the next day. And then she pointed at that and said, we don't want to go back to that. And that seemed to be her main argument. The secondary one, of course, being, I care about you, and he doesn't. And in that case, we talk about plans and specificity. She was specific in parts about small business, child care, down payments on homes, the opportunity economy. She said that a lot. She didn't go overboard, but I think the question will be, did she send a signal? If she didn't go overboard, Donald Trump was quite brief in terms of the only policy I could hear from him was about tariffs and deportation. So he said, I have concepts of a plan. But on the specificity, even though she wasn't overwhelming, she was certainly more than he was.
Margaret Brennan, on that very issue, when the topic of immigration came up, which is one that Donald Trump likes to hammer this administration on, he likes to call Kamala Harris wrongly the border czar. That was not specifically her job. She pivoted to crowd sizes, and then he got distracted and said, wait a minute, I want to respond to the size of my rallies. Right. And then it kind of went veering off, and he missed the opportunity to deliver some of the attacks that he has in the past on immigration.
No, I think you nailed it when you talk about chumming the waters and taking the bait. And that was clearly a planned strategy for the vice president here. We saw a demonstration of personality, not policy, to John's point. And within that, what I'm thinking of are some of the strongest lines where the vice president not only described him as easily manipulated, but showed she could do it in front of the cameras with lines like that. And she had this one zinger. It's absolutely well known. Dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president because they are so clear they can manipulate you with flattery and favors. That is a powerful line in part because we are looking at someone who is arguing to be the first female commander-in-chief of the United States, standing up there and saying, I want to have a strong military, and I'm going to show you how I can manipulate the man standing next to me right now on this stage. I thought it was an interesting strategy. She did it again and again.
We'll get to foreign policy in a minute, but just quickly, she did say that Vladimir Putin would eat his lunch of Donald Trump. And then, strangely, the only world leader that Donald Trump brought up was Viktor Orban.
Right, who is a NATO ally, but a very troublesome one who has been cozying up to Iran, to Russia, and to China.
Nancy Cordes, you're our chief White House correspondent. Tell us what you saw tonight.
Nora, I've been talking to Biden campaign officials, and they are elated. And keep in mind, this is the same bunch, Harris campaign officials who were Biden campaign officials who had very long faces at the first debate a month and a half ago. The best thing they could say about Biden was that he got better as the night went on. Well, here's what they're saying now. One campaign official telling me it couldn't have gone better. He took the bait on everything. She set the terms of every exchange. And she did. She baited him on crowd size. She baited him on dictators, on negotiating with the Taliban. And it seemed to knock him off message every time. Her overarching argument when it comes to Donald Trump seemed to be pretty simple. Number one, he's a liar. Number two, he sucks up to dictators and wants to be a dictator. And number three, he cares about himself and not you. And everything that she talked about, whether it was immigration or abortion or foreign policy, seemed to fall under one of those three themes. She kept bringing it back to that. And she's making that case because she's trying to reach this very small group of undecided voters, independents, who may not like all of her policies, who may be interested in some of the things that Donald Trump stands for, but she's making the case to them, he doesn't care about you, and I'll look out for you.
Want to go to Robert Costa. He is in the spin room tonight. And Robert, I know you've been speaking with some advisors to Donald Trump. What were some of the strongest points he made tonight? What were some of the missteps?
Nora, good to be with you. One of the benefits of being here in Philadelphia is you can roam around this spin room, talk to some of the top Republicans in the country, Trump campaign officials, and their real review tonight is that they always believe that former President Donald Trump is a blockbuster political franchise for them to ride, and he's never going to be a critical darling. And as long as he can preserve his franchise, politically speaking, keep his base together, and be seen as anti-establishment and a political weapon, then they feel like they're in a decent position as they go into this closing stretch. They know that former President Trump didn't land all of the punches he wanted to rhetorically against Vice President Harris, but at the same time, they don't take seriously criticism of his debate performance because, as one put it to me, people don't care about how people in the political establishment and in the media see it. And it's ultimately this swing voter they're looking out for and hoping they see Trump as change.
Robert Costa, thank you very much. Ed O'Keefe, some of the topics that came up very early in the debate were not only the economy, immigration, but then reproductive rights, which is considered a strong suit for Kamala Harris as vice president. And on that issue, she did manage to tangle up Donald Trump. He got tangled up. He was unable to answer whether he would support a federal ban on abortion repeatedly. And then he got tangled up on the issue of in vitro fertilization, where he kept saying, just calling it fertilization. And he said at one point, I'm for fertilization. I've been a leader on fertilization. He did not have a comfort with that issue.
Clearly. And the Harris campaign says that all indications are, at least in the moment, for example, they're looking at donations coming in as people sit there with their phones and watch this. And more than 70% of the donations in the first hour were coming from women, which means they're hearing something they like to see. And across the party tonight, remember, 75 nights ago, we sat here and there was widespread panic across the Democratic Party. Tonight, widespread relief at what they saw. Repeatedly, how she was able to goad him into situations where he got personal, where he didn't give clear answers on issues like whether he would veto a federal ban. And they believe that she did exactly what was needed tonight to dispel any concerns about her performance, lay out her strategy, reinforce the position on abortion rights especially, and even her answers towards the end about his attacks on her and whether or not he's being racist or sexist in doing so. So across the board, real pleasure, real relief that this went the way it did tonight.
I want to bring our chief Washington correspondent, Major Garrett, in here. So, Major, there were probably tens of millions of people watching across the networks this debate. Where could it potentially have an impact? What do you think?
The central question for both campaigns is, right now, has Trump reached his ceiling and has Kamala Harris reached her ceiling? The Harris campaign believes there's room to grow. The Trump campaign wants to bring her down because they think they're at their ceiling. And tonight's performance was loud, extravagant with lies, and based on that Trump support that already exists. The Harris obligation was, can you raise that ceiling? Can you find more voters with more persuasive language? To Nancy's point, Harris campaign believes they've got a bit of an edge there.
Ed Gordon, these debates are about policy, and there was a lot of policy today. It may not have been a lot of new policy, but they're also the performative aspect of tonight. And it was interesting to see Kamala Harris in many of those two shots where, while her mic wasn't open, she sort of laughed at him. She put her hand up to her chin. What did you see?
She knew exactly what she was doing. She set the tone when she walked out, shook his hand, and introduced herself by name, which I thought was very, very interesting. She gave a lob to black and brown voters, talking about Project 2025 very early on, and she understood the split screen. So when he felt that he was going a little far, or she felt he was going a little far, she made it clear she was taking a look.
Ed Gordon, thanks, everybody. And we're going to be right back with more analysis.
I had progressively fallen deeper into the world of online sports betting.
The risk is the rush.
What do you think is driving the spike in popularity?
I think it's legality.
If it's legal, I'm going to use it. There are ways to bet when you are 18.
We've created an epidemic of child gambling.
You can't walk into a male dormitory in a college campus without sports betting happening.
It's America's most neglected problem.
I used sports betting as a way to escape, when in reality, I'm choosing self-destruction. Whatever I had left, it was gone.
The purpose of the industry is to get you to play to extinction. And that means until all your money is gone.
When you wake up in the morning, we want to be your go-to team.
On our places, bright, shiny faces.
I don't go to work in the morning. I go for coffee with my two good friends, and we talk about the world.
Your morning routine just got better. CBS Mornings.
Don't miss true crime anytime you want, anywhere you go. With the 48 Hours podcast. Real crimes, real lives, real justice.
There's some questions that have to be asked and need to be answered.
Listen to 48 Hours on Apple Podcasts.
An original documentary from CBS Reports.
Imagine yourself in Manhattan with no police, no army, no mayor.
The people of Haiti stare down poverty, corruption, natural disasters, and violence.
90% of the guns that are used by gangs in Haiti are American guns.
But with an unbreakable spirit and eternal optimism.
There are days where I cry, but we can't be discouraged. We still believe in Haiti.
They're still able to look ahead with hope.
Haiti is on the brink of transformation, a radical shift. Haitians are coming together and saying things must change.
Fighting for Haiti, now streaming on the free CBS News app.
She's the first black woman on the Supreme Court, and she's determined she won't be the last.
My parents had raised me to believe that I could do anything I wanted to do.
Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson on Person to Person.
Come on, Julia. Oh, no. I will if you will. You go, gal.
That's right.
Let me see if you can find me.
I want to make sure that my voice is heard, but also that I lift up other voices.
You can't write a better script.
Yeah, boy!
It's gonna be a ride. Sunshine down.
We'll see you 7 o'clock sharp.
This is CBS.
There's so much more to talk about. Our coverage will continue on CBS News 24/7 and on your local news. Good night.
Are you confident that there will be a peaceful transfer of power?
President Biden's first interview since his historic announcement on CBS Sunday Morning.
Come on, Julia. Oh, no. I will if you will. You go, gal.
That's right.
Let me see if you can find me.
I want to make sure that my voice is heard, but also that I lift up other voices.
You can't write a better script.
Yeah, boy!
It's gonna be a ride. Sunshine down.
We'll see you 7 o'clock sharp.
This is CBS.
Our campaign, this campaign, is a fight for the future.
And we will make America great again.
This is a CBS News special, America Decides, the presidential debate. Now reporting, Norah O'Donnell.
Welcome back to the CBS News stream for continued coverage of the first presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. I'm Norah O'Donnell in New York City at the CBS News election headquarters with the best political team in the business. I'm joined by Nancy Cordes, Ed O'Keefe, Major Garrett, and Ed Gordon for their take on tonight's debate and what, if anything, the American people may have learned that they didn't already know. Ed O'Keefe, want to go to you first. Certainly Democrats giving a sigh of relief tonight over the performance. But where does this change things in this contest now that we are just over 60 days away from Election Day?
Well, the hope is they reached all the few undecided voters in these 7 battleground states or so who may have been watching tonight or will see clips tomorrow morning and somehow change their minds and maybe fill in those gaps about what is she about? Can she really do this? Can she hold her own? The Kamala Harris campaign tonight likes what it saw so much, however, that they are now pushing for another debate to be held in October. So that gives you an indication that they believe she did so well tonight, they might as well try again. Whether the Trump team would ever consent to that, whether it'll ever happen, remains to be seen. But you will be hearing senior aides across the campaign, across the Democratic Party, pushing for another debate to be held. But in talking to lawmakers, other operatives, senior aides to people across the country, governors, they're just completely elated by what they saw, believing that she just consistently goaded him into a corner, had him fall for questions about crowd size, his relations with world leaders. As one operative put it to me, she emasculated him on television tonight, and it worked to great effect.
Ed O'Keefe, thank you. Want to bring in Ed Gordon and Nancy Cordes. And Ed, there was a lot of pressure on Kamala Harris tonight as the vice president, because even though she has held that esteemed office, it's the number 2 position. She's not out there a lot. And this was her first presidential debate. This was Donald Trump's 7th on the stage.
Without question. And one of the things that a number of people were wanting to see is if she could not only step up to the task, but keep this momentum going. I mentioned at the start that I was with some donors, large donors on the West Coast over the weekend, and they said if she performed well, it was going to make it so much easier to keep these big dollars rolling in. I just got a response, $, $, $. They are very pleased. Ed, I think you hit it. Elation would be the word.
Within the Democratic base and the Democratic elite. Nancy Cordes, Kamala Harris seemed to have a strategy going into this. She trained, she practiced, she studied hard on this issue. She kept chumming the waters, and it looked like Donald Trump took the bait.
She's a former prosecutor, and she's been doing this for a long time, and she has studied him and knows the topics that get under his skin. But she also seemed to be trying to make a case that she is a change not just from Trump, but from President Biden, who she occupies the White House with. She said, I offer a new generation of leadership. She said, the American people are tired of the same old playbook. She even at one point said, let's not go back. And speaking directly to voters, she said, if you don't like what you see here, there is a place for you in our campaign to stand for the rule of law against chaos. She's trying to make the case that Trump is yesterday's news, that he's old and tired, beyond, questions of truth and lies and beyond questions about his criminal record. She's saying the things he wants to do, that's in the past. We're heading into the future. That's one of her big campaign themes as well. We're not going back. And it's something you heard from her over and over again tonight.
Major Garrett is also with us. And Major, I know you are fact-checking some of the things we heard tonight.
We'll get to the fact checks in just a second. But, Nora, we're coming to everyone from Times Square, where Broadway is. And for decades in this country, Cats the musical was all the rage. Retrospectively, we might call this presidential campaign Cats the presidential campaign. Because it started with J.D. Vance and childless cat ladies. And tonight, when talking about immigration, that's where our first fact check starts, former President Trump talked about cats. He meant to talk about geese in Springfield, Ohio. There is a viral video suggesting that Haitian immigrants there are, and I'll bring this up on the screen so everyone can see it, eating cats, eating dogs. We rate this on the CBS Confirmed team as false. We have checked with the local authorities in the county, Springfield, Ohio. They have no credible claims, no evidence, no suggestion that Haitian immigrants have harmed in any way, shape, or form, let alone eaten dogs or cats. especially not cats, because the allegation was originally geese. Former President Trump not only misspoke about that, but we rate this with the CBS Confirmed team as false. Continuing the focus, which was relentless, fair to say, for the former president tonight on immigration. He said the following: when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, he said 21 million people. We have gone over this before. During the Biden administration, they did have record numbers of border crossings, 8 million total, nowhere near 21 million people. Not all of those are individuals. Many of them crossed the border, were sent across the border, then crossed again. So it's not 8 million individuals, but that is the aggregate number. Secondarily, never in the Biden administration did millions of people or even 1 million people be encountered in any month. The highest number was 300,000 in December of 2023. That's why the CBS Confirmed team rates that as false. One thing that came up from Vice President Harris, talking about President Trump's future plans to place tariffs on Chinese imported goods and imported goods from other countries. She said that would cost up to $4,000 more per year. Economists vary on this. The ranges are $1,600 to $3,200. You can find some economists that say as high as $4,000. That is something that we on the CBS Confirmed team rate as partially true, but needs the larger context of exactly how high the tariff rate would be, onto which goods would it apply, and what the actual bottom line effect would be on middle-class families. Some truth there, but needs a lot more context. Nora, back to you.
Major Garrett, thank you. And we have some breaking news right now. This doesn't need to be fact-checked, but Taylor Swift, and a picture of her and her cat, she has just posted that she watched the debate tonight and that she is endorsing Kamala Harris because, in her words, she fights for the rights and causes I believe need a warrior to champion them. I think she is steady-handed, gifted leader, and I believe we can accomplish so much more in this country if we are led by calm and not chaos. I was so heartened, Taylor Swift writes, and impressed by her selection of running mate Tim Walz, who has been standing up for LGBTQ plus rights, IVF, and a woman's right to her own body for decades. Nancy Cordes, we know that Taylor Swift has endorsed Democrats in the past. This was not unexpected, but the timing is interesting. She also talks about how she was concerned about AI-generated fake stuff out there that was suggesting that she liked Donald Trump as a candidate.
Right. And she's basically saying that it was those AI images that prompted her to come out now in September and make this endorsement. She said, recently I was made aware that AI of me falsely endorsing Donald Trump's presidential run was posted to his site. It really conjured up my fears around AI and the dangers of spreading misinformation. So this is the most popular entertainer on earth, Nora, coming out in support of Kamala Harris. It's no accident that she's posing there with her cat, because as Major rightly pointed out, cats are the theme of the campaign.
I didn't know anything about that, by the way.
And I think the question now is, how active does she get in the campaign? Is this a one-time thing, or is she going to be hitting the road using her enormous megaphone to get voters, particularly young voters, to register to vote, to go to the polls? I think that will be the measure of how impactful this endorsement is.
Her tour continues in a number of states, not only Florida as well. She'll be in Florida for a while doing her own musical tour. We don't know yet whether she'll be doing any campaigning, as you say, Nancy Cordes. I want to bring in now from Philadelphia, RNC Chair Michael Whatley. Michael, good to see you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much. I know you watched the debate. How do you think the former president performed?
I think the former president delivered his message and talked about the issues that the American voters care about. He talked about inflation and how he's going to bring it down, how he's going to lower prices on groceries and rent and housing prices that every American family is dealing with right now. He talked about the southern border and how he's going to end the scourge of the invasion that we have seen come across that border. And he also talked about how he's going to make America strong enough on the international stage to make sure that we can protect our interests as well as the interests of our allies.
Mr. Chairman, I know that immigration has certainly been one of the top issues, not only for Republican voters, but voters in general, but has been one of the stronger areas of attack for Donald Trump. That topic came up tonight. But instead of Donald Trump going after Harris and using the term border czar, as he has used in the past, he instead got into sort of a back and forth with the moderator about this unproven claim that exists virally about people eating dogs in Springfield, Ohio. Was that a missed opportunity?
Look, I think we can have plenty of conversations about the border czar, Kamala Harris, and the fact that this administration has allowed millions of illegal immigrants to come across the border, took 94 executive actions to dismantle the most secure southern border that we have ever had. I think one of the stories that you probably want to talk about is the fact that the moderators did fact check the president relentlessly all night to the point where it was basically a 3-on-1 debate, and they never once fact checked Kamala Harris for anything that she said, including several of the obvious misstatements that she made.
What would have been one of the ones that you think she should have been fact-checked on?
Well, the fact that she said that there is no states where it's illegal for you to have abortions in the 9 months, and that's absolutely not true. The fact that she said that President Trump supports Project 2025, which is absolutely not true. And the fact that she said that he opposes IVF, which is absolutely not true. There are several other examples that we can certainly talk about it. But it was interesting that he was playing 3-on-1 because the moderators went after him continuously and never once fact-checked Kamala Harris.
Let's talk about some of the other substantive issues that came up during this debate, reproductive rights and abortion. The former president did not commit to vetoing a federal abortion ban. Did that hurt him? What is your understanding of what the Trump-Vance position is? Because they've each said now different things.
Well, the Trump-Vance position is that this is a discussion that needs to be done at the state level. They fought for 50 years plus to be able to overturn Roe v. Wade. President Trump is the president who appointed those judges who did overturn Roe v. Wade and return this back to the states. That's where he believes that this discussion should be taking place.
Traditionally, there have been 3 debates in a presidential election cycle. Would you like to see, and would you push for, another debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris?
Absolutely. I think any opportunity that President Trump has to talk directly to the American voters, talk to every American family, and lay out his vision for making America strong and wealthy and safe again, we would certainly want to take.
So will you try and convince the former president to commit to another debate?
Look, I think if the opportunity were there, we certainly would want to take a good look at it, taking advantage of it. Any opportunity that he has to go talk directly to the American voters and tell them that he is going to restore our southern border, rebuild our economy, and ensure that America is strong enough to take care of our allies and ourselves at home and abroad.
Republican National Committee Chair Michael Whatley, thank you for your time joining us from the Spin Room in Philadelphia. We appreciate it. Coming up, we'll hear from voters who watched tonight's debate and talk with Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro.
These are the stories
1, 2, 3, go!
Of we, the people.
We're trying to generate our own hope.
It's a huge deal.
I'm enabling them to feel valued.
Eye on America. Weeknights on the CBS Evening News with Norah O'Donnell.
I had progressively fallen deeper into the world of online sports betting.
The risk is the rush.
What do you think is driving the spike in popularity?
I think it's legality.
If it's legal, I'm going to use it. There are ways to bet when you are 18.
We've created an epidemic of child gambling.
You can't walk into a male dormitory in a college campus without sports betting happening.
It's America's most neglected problem.
I used sports betting as a way to escape, when in reality, I'm choosing self-destruction. Whatever I had left, it was gone.
The purpose of the industry is to get you to play to extinction. And that means until all your money is gone.
Go to the ends of the earth. Reach for the stars.
Yeah, I just took off.
that kind of thing.
That's pretty good.
Because there's always something new under the sun on CBS Sunday Morning.
America Decides is your place for fact-based, unbiased reporting.
At the White House, at the Capitol, on the campaign trail. What do you say to those in your party?
Any cracks in the Republican Party?
Our reporters and our anchors travel the country talking to voters like you
About the issues that matter most.
Immigration is really a factor right now.
That are going to be driving your decisions.
What would you say to those who say, look, that's just democracy at work?
Listening to you and bringing your voice into our coverage.
I want a strong, proud America.
Is democracy on the ballot in 2024?
Let us help you decide.
America Decides. Stream our expanded one-hour program Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern.
exclusively on CBS News 24/7, the streaming home of CBS News.
People with developmental disabilities were once sequestered by the hundreds of thousands in institutions.
Many of our fellow citizens are suffering tremendously because lack of attention, lack of imagination, lack of adequate manpower.
Disability activists have since torn down barriers blocking them from living at home or in the community.
We conclude that Title II of the ADA requires states to provide community-based treatment for persons with mental disabilities.
But of the 16,000 people who remain in state-operated institutions, half are in 5 states, and Illinois is one of them.
I don't want to live in the institution. It makes me feel discriminated against.
Do you think there are people living in institutions in Illinois that don't need to be living there?
Yeah, because they're proving it as soon as they get out.
Welcome back to America Decides and CBS News coverage of the first presidential debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Now, what did the voters think about tonight? CBS's Nicole Killing is in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, with a focus group. And Nicole, we are all so interested to hear what these voters thought about the candidates' performances.
Well, Nora, as you know, this is a swing area, and of course, we've got a range of reactions from our voters who watched this entire debate. I just want to go down the line with all of you and just very quickly tell me who you believe won this debate tonight. We'll start with you, Bridget.
Definitely Kamala Harris.
I would say Kamala Harris.
Donald Trump.
Trump. Kamala Harris.
And tell me why.
He spoke facts. She just basically repeated everything that Biden has said in the past.
What were your thoughts?
She made, Donald Trump made a strong closing statement by saying, why didn't they do all the things that she's proposing during the 3.5 years that they've been in office? And Biden did this entire moderate stance back in 2020, and she's trying to do it again in 2024. But she didn't talk about her policy changes between 2020 and 2024. Her whole centrist, moderate stance is just a facade.
I mean, you're someone who said that you support Kamala Harris. How do you respond to that?
You know, I think that Kamala has a lot of good plans for the future, and I think that since she wasn't the one that was mainly in charge, you know, even though she is vice president, there is Congress and there is checks and balances, so like she can't do everything. I think that with her being more in power with president, I think that she would be able to do a better job.
Robert, I know we started off the evening where you said you're not sure who you may support. Did this debate change your mind in any way?
Kind of did make me sway a little bit toward Kamala Harris with the same exact facts that she made as well. A lot of the big issues for me were the fact that Kamala is a politician and the debate is a politician's game. And I believe that she definitely has a better convincing point for who to vote for.
Is there anything you didn't hear tonight that you wanted to hear, Eddie?
Well, I wanted to hear, as I said at the beginning, I wanted to hear honest, actual policy proposals, and I wanted to hear the truth. And I got some honest policy proposals, but they all came from Kamala Harris. All I heard from Donald Trump was more angry vilification of immigrants, more goofy conspiracy theories about 9-month abortions and eating your neighbor's cat. And those aren't policy proposals, and I really was looking for something like that.
I was kind of hoping that we would address more about our broken immigration system, since we really haven't had substantial immigration reform since the 1980s and even further back to 1960s. And a lot of those decisions made in the 1960s and 1980s have caused this immigration problem that we currently have right now. And I was kind of hoping that both of them would talk about immigration and how they would fix immigration. But while Trump attempted to say that there is a problem with immigration and that those that have come here legally should be deported, she really deflected on immigration and didn't take responsibility or Biden's responsibility for letting people in illegally.
Well, it sounds like some of you would like to hear more. That being said, quick show of hands, how many of you feel that there should be another debate? All of you.
Absolutely. 100%.
Absolutely.
Well, that remains to be seen, as you know, Nora, but certainly a very spirited conversation among these voters as they watch tonight's debate. But clearly, not all of their answers were. Not all of their questions were answered tonight, so that is why
Nicole,
they
but
believe that they should hear more.
I agree. I think you should pull back up the whole exchange on immigration very early on for that particular voter, because I do think there was actually a good exchange on immigration. I would politely disagree about why that immigration reform bill was killed and who's responsible. And then it was the exchange about that viral video. So that's my 2 cents on this, because I thought it was really interesting on the immigration. Nicole Killian and all the voters, thank you very much for your time. Joining us now is Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, who is the governor there in that state where you've just had that spirited debate. And Governor, thank you so much for joining us. What did you make of the vice president's performance?
I thought she did great. And by the way, I have to say thank you for putting people from Bucks County on TV. It's where my wife grew up. It was great to hear from them. But I thought the vice president did a great job, both laying out her vision and also prosecuting the case against Donald Trump, showing the clear contrast, particularly on the issue of abortion and the fundamental freedom for women to be able to make decisions over their own bodies. I think she exposed the former president for being kind of nonsensical and unhinged, and sort of baited him into doing what he normally does, which is speaking in conspiracy theory tones. I mean, he is someone who really seems to not have any kind of vision for the future and is just focused on sort of the silliness of the past, settling old scores, and a whole bunch of wacky conspiracy theories.
Governor, as a prosecutor yourself, the former attorney general, how would you describe the strategy that the vice president employed? When asked a question, she would answer it, but then she would quickly pivot and almost bait Donald Trump into speaking about another issue. She did it on everything from the border, on immigration. She did it on crowd size. How would you talk about and how she used that strategy effectively?
Well, look, as a former prosecutor, I know an easy mark when I see one. And part of the reason why you can sort of bait Donald Trump into this stuff, whether it's on crowd sizes or something else, it's because Donald Trump is only focused on himself. And so when you entice him that way to talk about himself, instead of talking about the American people and how he's going to help them, it's something that we've come to know is just part of his problem. He's focused on himself. He's not focused on the future of trying to help the American people.
I also want to ask you about some of the other foreign policy issues that came up during the debate. The question was asked on Ukraine. Twice Donald Trump was asked a simple answer in the words of the moderator. He said, would the war be over if you were president of the United States? He couldn't answer that question. Then Kamala responded by saying, well, yeah, it would be over because Donald Trump would just give up. How did you rate those different questions on foreign policy?
Yeah, I thought she handled herself really well on foreign policy, and all Donald Trump did was say, well, it would have never happened this way and never would have happened that way, and offered absolutely no concrete evidence for that. What we do know, and I thought Kamala Harris prosecuted this case effectively, is that Trump would just give Putin and give Russia exactly what they want and would make that entire region less stable, would put NATO at extraordinary risk, NATO countries and our allies at extraordinary risk. And so I think what she did there was really, really effective.
Pennsylvania, I don't have to tell you, is the nation's second largest producer of natural gas. Do you think the vice president did enough tonight to convince voters in your state that she won't ban fracking? That is something she said she was in favor of in 2019.
Yes. And let me tell you something, Nora. I'm an all-of-the-above energy governor. I understand just how critical jobs in the natural gas industry are here in this Commonwealth, particularly for our building trades in the southwestern part of our state and elsewhere. And Kamala Harris made clear that she's going to be an all-of-the-above energy president. She understands the important role those energy jobs play here in Pennsylvania. And she also, I thought, made a really important point. For all of Donald Trump's bluster about energy, you know what? Under the Biden-Harris administration, we're producing more domestic energy than ever before in this nation, which strengthens our economy and it strengthens our national security. And I have confidence that she'll continue that.
Governor Josh Shapiro, thank you for your time. We'd talk longer, but Vice President Harris and her husband, Doug Emhoff, are at a watch party and they're addressing supporters. Let's listen.
I told you she was ready. All right, you won that debate. Hold on, but we haven't won anything yet, right? So we got to take this energy, we got to take this momentum, and she showed everyone, especially Donald Trump, what a real leader is. And now we're going to take this momentum for the next 55 days so I can call my wife the next president of the United States, Kamala Harris!
Hey, Billy! All right, so you guys know how I am. Okay, today was a good day. We got to work tomorrow. We got 56 days to go. We got a lot of work to do. And let me just say that I think we all know that tonight was a night that highlights something that you all have been working so hard on. We have folks here who have been knocking on doors. Well, you know. But we have a lot of work to do, okay? And tonight, I think, highlighted for the American people what's at stake. I started the debate by talking about it, and it became apparent, I think, throughout that about an hour and a half, that, look, this is very much two different visions for our country. Ours, which is a vision for the future, and his, which is about the past and taking us backward. And as I said on the debate stage, we are not going back. We are not going back. And so we know what we're fighting for. We know what we stand for. And that's why we know what we're fighting for. We're fighting for the dignity of all people. We're fighting for the dignity of work. We are fighting for middle-class families. We are fighting to uplift people, understanding the true measure of the strength of a leader is not based on who you beat down, it's based on who you lift up. That's what we stand for. And so we've got some work to do because, listen, I think that we think today was a good day, and it kind of was. But we have 56 days to go, and guys, we're still the underdogs in this race. It's tight. We have got to win Pennsylvania, and we are going to win Pennsylvania, and it is because of you. It is because of you who have signed up, who have volunteered. You are organizing. You're helping us to email and text and knock on doors and talk to your neighbors and your friends. And here's the thing about the spirit of our campaign. It is people-driven. It is about the people. It is about uplifting our country. This is a campaign born out of love of country. We love our country. We believe in who we are. We believe in the American people. This is a campaign about bringing folks together, knowing the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. It is about inclusion, and it is not about division, and it is not about demeaning and name-calling. It is about lifting folks up, working folks, families, children, people who are just not just trying to get by, but trying to get ahead. That's what we stand for. So let's get out here for these next 56 days. Hard work is good work, and we will win. We will win. See you later.
And that was the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, just a short time ago with her husband before a group of supporters there after, just according to her husband, winning the debate. But also, you can hear the song being played there. Because if I was the man, I'd be the man. That's Taylor Swift, for those of you not familiar with her. And Taylor Swift posing today with her cat, endorsing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, and signing her lengthy Instagram post as Nancy Cordes.
Childless cat lady.
She is probably the most, she's the most famous and successful music star in the world. And she's also owning that she is a single, childless cat lady.
With 3 cats.
As I
she's
said a
posing
moment
with
ago,
Benjamin there.
Cats. The
You know
presidential
the name of the
campaign.
cat, Nancy? That's impressive.
Trademark.
This is core to the lore.
In the era of TikTok, this may actually mean something for people who pick up a lot of their news, certainly online, and gets them interested in these sorts of, different things. It does, in some ways, invite interest for people who are perhaps low information voters, don't have the time because they're working or in school to follow politics very closely.
Ed and Nancy know this as well as I do. Some Democrats were nervous about tonight. Could Kamala Harris, the vice president, add to the momentum? Would this be a circuit breaker to what she carried out of the Democratic National Convention? Moments like this indicate additive cultural momentum. It's a big deal.
Important to remember, however, and that is an excellent point, and they are feeling great, and they will take this momentum and they will take it to Charlotte on Thursday. They will take it to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, back to Pennsylvania on Friday. But we all covered the Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump debates back in 2016, and voters said that she won all 3 of those debates by a sizable margin. It was not close, and she still went on to lose the election.
We should note, though, that they are steadfast in saying we haven't won anything. They like the position of underdog. They essentially want to keep that even as they keep winning. So I think that we're going to hear that until Election Day. And as far as another debate goes, it'll be interesting to see. I would think people are going to be skeptical in Trump's camp whether he should do it again. But I think if you play to his ego, he's going to want to get back out.
Well, bringing up Donald Trump, he just showed up in the spin room. So let's listen in what he had to say.
Step back. Everybody got to step back.
We even have a stanchion anymore. You're on the wrong
Step
side.
back. Mr. President.
On the abortion ban. Step back, step back, step back. We got to close it off. Yep.
Mr. President, on the abortion ban. On the abortion ban.
Guys, step back, please. Step back.
About the moderators. I thought it was your great. Why would you look at her? What is your reaction to Taylor Swift's endorsement? What is your reaction to Taylor Swift's endorsement of Kamala Harris?
I have no idea. Mr. President.
Why didn't you look at her? Harris again.
When Republicans are complaining about moderators, does that mean
The phone down.
No, I thought the moderators
Killing
were
us
very
all
unfair,
here.
but it basically was 3-on-1. But I thought they were very unfair to moderators. Everybody did. But despite that, they're saying that the debate was...
Are you looking
Mr. President. Yeah, I assume the moderators would be that right there.
Why would you say that people are eating dogs in Springfield?
Oh, yeah, it's true. You take a look at it. No,
It's nonsense. The local authorities say.
Well, you could check it out.
Do you think
check,
you're going to lose?
Check with the authorities.
Do you think you're going to lose the Haitian vote with these claims about Indian
I really
tax?
don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I just say, all I do is say the truth. I say the truth. If I lose votes or gain votes, I don't care. But this was my best debate. I thought it was very good. I thought she was very weak on foreign policy. She was very weak on the border. And I'm very happy with it.
Not on President.
Well, there was Donald Trump inside what you call the spin room. This is this area where many of the reporters are outside of that debate hall. Major Garrett, what does it say that Donald Trump decided to join this melee?
Classic counter-programming by the president. He did not want the only images of tonight to be the debate. He wanted a counter-image after the debate to show he was not in any way afraid of discussing the debate, to constantly reaffirm, hey, whatever you think happened, I think I did great. My people tell me I did great. This is how he is trying to cope with this. I talked to a senior Trump advisor today who said he might go to the spin room after the debate. I said, will he go there triumphantly or essentially in a posture of cleanup on aisle 10? And he said, we don't know yet. This was cleanup on aisle 10.
Let's go now to Robert Costa, who has been inside the spin room for much of the night. Robert, your take on Donald Trump's appearance there.
It's another episode in an episodic moment in American political history. You began the evening, Nora, by playing that video montage about the succession of events that have happened since the summer. And this is yet another event that seems like a defining moment, and it will define part of the political story. But we are now in churning waters. Former President Trump emerging in the spin room here, President Biden exiting the race, Vice President Kamala Harris feeling confident about tonight. But weeks lie ahead on the horizon. This will be a knockout, drag-out fight for the American presidency, unlike anything we've ever seen before, because you have a combative candidate in Trump who is confident in his own way and believes he has a movement behind him, even if some of his own allies believe his campaign now has hit a rough patch.
Robert Costa, thank you. Want to check in with Weijia Jiang, who has been following the Harris campaign and is also there in Philadelphia tonight. Weijia, and what are you hearing from advisors close to the vice president?
Well, Nora, since the moment the debate started, aides were celebrating, saying that she had such a strong start by going out of her way to introduce herself to the former president, and they point to that as one of the strongest moments of the night. And then throughout the night, the texts were pouring in about how much of a command she had, how presidential she was, how she accomplished everything she set out to do. They say that she defined herself on where she stands on the issues, that she shared bits of her personal story, and of course went after Trump. And Nora, what I found was so interesting was that the Harris campaign essentially opened up their playbook for the preparation for this debate. We had been reporting for days about how she really wanted to rattle Trump and needle him because they were so frustrated that they claimed that America had Trump amnesia, in their words, that they had forgotten what he was really like and that she was going to try to get under his skin. And the Trump folks, they heard it just like us because it was in our reporting, but they didn't tweak his strategy and his response. And as we've been talking about all night, he took the bait. Of course, the other part of that was that she wanted to remain cool and collected, and she took attacks from a Trump stand-in because she wanted to practice knowing that her face would also be on the screen. And they'd say she was able to do that as well. And so not only are they celebrating, they are challenging Trump to a second debate. And as far as I know and have seen so far in notes, he has not responded. Nora?
Weijia Jiang, thank you for your reporting tonight. And Ed, what happens next?
Well, good point, because tomorrow, of course, is the 23rd anniversary of the September 11th attacks. We're going to see President Biden and Vice President Harris here in New York together for those commemorations. They're then heading to Pennsylvania and the Pentagon. Former President Trump expected here in New York, also going to Shanksville, Pennsylvania. they may cross paths tomorrow. Ironic that after meeting tonight for the first time, Harris and Trump are likely to cross paths again tomorrow on such a somber day. And from there, it's back to the campaign trail. At that point, there'll be 54 days to go. We'll see if there's another debate. There is a vice presidential debate coming up on October 1st on CBS. And, you know, at that point, what are the effects of this debate? Did it have any real movement at all in either direction? Or do things remain awash and just a complete churn to find every last voter in every swing state?
Nora, presidential campaigns sometimes have an emotional bandwidth. And as the debate wore on tonight, it was clear President Trump thought louder was better. He kept getting louder and louder. And his orientation to the facts became more extravagantly stretched. Kamala Harris, both in the debate and afterwards, looked calm, relaxed, and confident. That's her emotional bandwidth. She wants to continue that. If Trump continues to be loud and extravagant with the elasticity of his facts, that is going to work against him in the campaign. His campaign knew that tonight had to be about addition, pulling in voters who are not yet with him. Much of his rhetoric tonight, not only was it loud, but it was oriented toward the already existing Trump base. Kamala Harris had a different strategy. Bait him and add where she could. That's what the next 56 days is all about.
Will that temperament that was displayed tonight by both candidates sway that very small sliver of undecided voters in these battleground states? A big thank you to our powerhouse political team on this debate night. For all of us at CBS News, thank you for watching. I'm Nora O'Donnell. Good night.
Washington is the seat of power. National security, foreign policy, global economics, every story comes through Washington in